Where did they get
You
money?
can't tell me what to do. You're not my mom. I'll eat the liver of any polar bear.
Okay, well, you know what?
Yeah, let's Okay, everyone. Hello again, and welcome to what? Hello, welcome to another episode of Beta Sheep. My name is Randall, and I'm here with our regular guests, Sergio, Miguel, and Summer, as well as two special guests, Paul and Roy. Today we'll be talking about Ebola. So, Miguel, if you'd like to start us off on this topic, or
Yes,
if you want to do introductions, either or.
Yeah, we'll just go around. We got Randall, as you introduced yourself, right?
Yep.
Randall. And then we have Paul. Paul, you want to say hi?
Hi.
And then Sergio over here.
So,
Oh, so sexy. And then we have Summer.
Hi.
Summer's our eye candy, but unfortunately it's audio only this episode, so there you go.
The finest eye candy,
And Randall, what was your guest name? I apologize.
Roy.
Roy, are you there?
absolutely.
Absolutely. Alright, so we're talking about Ebola this episode. Mainly I wanted to hit up on this subject because it's a major outbreak going on right now in Africa. And we are currently experiencing one of the largest epidemics in history. At the time of the recording, at the time of this recording right now, I believe we are around 500?
We're at 518 deaths and 844 suspected.
518 deaths, so as you can see, I mean, it's everywhere. We have and all the trending articles going on. 500, man. I have a graph right here that demonstrates that as well. So we can see that, over time, as the epidemic was first discovered in 1976, it had just under, what is that, like 600? And now we're infections. And now we're about on our way. We're on our way to 1,500.
This is about a third of the cases since its inception, since it's been discovered in 1976.
Inception.
So there's only been 1,500 recorded fatal cases. So we've already surpassed a third of that
And
number with a single outbreak.
did they never name this strand, or is it?
Yeah, it's Zaire,
Yeah, and then I believe there's 5 different strands, right, Sergio?
Right.
Zaire, Sudan, Ivory Coast, Bundibugyo, and
Thai forest.
5.
Thai Forest is the same thing as Ivory Coast.
Oh. What about Reston? Did you say Reston?
Reston is the non-pathogenic strain, or at least it's not known to kill
This one,
humans.
and the one currently is the Zaire strain.
Right. Which is supposedly the hottest strain, but this strain is
Yeah.
pretty less than that.
With a fatality rate of around 90%. So, yeah, it is.
This outbreak is not 90%, but yes, previous ones have been.
Oh, this strain. I read that the strain itself has a 90% like kill rate.
Right.
Fatality,
Although
right?
this outbreak, even though it's the same strain, it's not the same mortality rate, or they call it case fatality rate.
I see. All right, and then right here we have a lovely picture of the Zaire virus. I don't know why I find this funny, but
That's so funny.
it's not funny. You're right. I'm sorry.
He enjoys
it's
death.
it's
I think
pretty
that's what
funny.
it
I
is.
think this is the Ebola virus. Paint me as one of your French girls photo.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly where my mind went to was the Titanic scene, and I'm just like, what's going on right now?
I believe they call it the shepherd's crook. It's a
I can see that.
virus, so it's all over the place. Looks like spaghetti.
Shepherd spaghetti. Now I'm hungry. Shepherd's pie.
Shepherd's crook.
All right.
All right then.
So let's see what else. Okay, so going into my article was about the WHO organization, WHO or WHO, the World Health Organization, setting up in Guinea and basically bringing together 11 African nations. So there you have them listed. You have Ghana, who lost to the U.S. in the World Cup, just so you know. And then Senegal, Uganda, Ivory Coast, etc. And so from what I'm reading from this article is that we're seeing that one of the things that is propelling the infection at such high rates is the fact that with superstition and then poor health system, and so you have a basic distrust of the government to begin with, add that to poor hygiene, and then the fact that it can be passed through How do you transmit it? It's blood, right?
Primarily
Blood.
bloodborne pathogen.
Body fluid.
And then it can also be passed through semen as well. So,
Bodily fluids.
bodily.
Bodily fluids. That's a good.
What's the incubation time from the time of infection to the time that you actually exhibit?
2 to 21 days.
2 to 21 days. Nice,
Very
nice. And from my understanding, there is no current vaccine for a virus, or
There's
for this
several-
virus.
There's several vaccines under research right now that show promise in non-human primates, so in monkeys, but nothing's ever been taken to humans except for experimental vaccines in like laboratory workers.
Why do you think? I mean, it was discovered in 1976, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And we still don't have a vaccine for it. Why do you think that is?
I think we have several vaccines, but it's almost impossible to take this type of thing out to clinical trials because you'd have to give it to people that you're either going to administer or at a high risk of getting Ebola. So it's kind of just a speculative thing right now.
See, I mean, from the vaccine standpoint, or I mean, if I was a pharmaceutical company and seeing that this virus occurs, very rarely, and it's secluded to mainly, remote areas of Africa, I wouldn't see it as a profitable vaccine. So, maybe there's some ethic issues there.
It'd primarily be if the military would likely fund it just because of the potential for bioterrorism.
Bioterrorism. Is somebody dropping stuff over there?
Yeah, is somebody like playing the ring the bell?
Everyone, if you could please refrain from dropping things.
Right. So, Sergio, why do you think this virus has spread so fast?
Hard to say. Usually it's previously in the outbreaks it had been due to like improper hygiene, reuse of needles, things like that. So bad hospital practices. Typically what you see in a poorer country. People don't have sterilizing techniques, so
It's mainly
spreads.
spread through in places where it's like rural areas where there's people interact with the wild animals.
Well, they believe it comes primarily from bushmeat, so like somebody who went out and either ate like a non-human primate that
You
is
go
infected
kill a
with it.
gorilla, and then you go cook the gorilla, and then surprise, surprise, there's Ebola in the gorilla.
Right.
You know what? Maybe we should start off. What is a virus? Can anybody explain that to me?
Come on, everybody.
It's a submicroscopic particle of fat, nucleic acid, and protein that's capable of replication within a host.
So without a host, a virus is unable to survive?
It's inert, right? It's just inert particles.
So is it just a thing?
It's
Some
a
type of
parasitic machine, yeah.
parasitic machinery.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Ebola virus. What kind of classification of virus does this fall under?
It's in the same family that you'd see rabies virus in. So it's called mononegavirales. It stands for single negative sense virus.
What's a negative sense?
Negative sense meaning that it has a negative RNA genome within it, just like rabies.
Interesting. Now, I have pulled up on here on the screen share. We can go over how this virus actually replicates. Let me get this going here. Sergio, maybe you can expand out on that. Beep. Look at that. We got graphics this episode.
Very classy.
So what's going on in this picture?
So the virus can bind to a number of different receptors on many different types of cells. It can pretty much infect any cell in the body. Its primary targets are immune system cells, followed by cells in the liver and then in your blood vessels. So once it gets into you, it will uncoat its viral genome. The genome will get translated into something that the cell can recognize. The cell will then take this code that the virus has given it and make different proteins for the virus. It basically makes nothing but viral proteins. Once you accumulate enough of these, it'll package and replicate its own genome and basically butt off more infectious virus. You can have up to 1,000 to 10,000 virus particles leaving an infected cell before it succumbs to death.
I think it's interesting that like a virus on its own isn't really anything but just a bunch of parts,
Right.
and it just needs to land, find an opportunity in order to infect a cell, and the way it does that is just like so. I mean, maybe explain that a little more. I mean, if a virus comes in contact with the cell, it automatically knows to act on it. How does it know when it's not present around a cell?
It doesn't really know per se. That's not really like something. A virus doesn't know anything. It either is or is not. So it either is taken up by a cell or it isn't. So if it matches its receptors with the right receptors on a cell, it'll go inside that cell and replicate. So it's just kind of a yes or no.
Cytoplasm.
So when it's carried by a host, what happens? I mean, like the carrier. I guess when it's carried on by an animal, what's happening on that animal?
Usually nothing. Low-level viremia is what we see in like infected bats and primates. I mean, it has wiped out like gorilla populations. So it is lethal to gorillas and to other non-human primates in the lab. But
What I'm thinking is that it seems like it'd be a really easy infection to avoid the transmission of. I mean, it sounds like something gets infected, and basically you should just stay away from that one thing,
Right, but I mean, it would be like us slaughtering a cow over here that's infected with rabies, but we didn't know it was. We butcher the animal, and we come in contact with the blood that the butchered animal, and that's how we get it.
Yeah, but you think it would go out to like 500 people that quickly? I feel like after one person got sick, recall, and then boom, don't eat meat for a while.
With a potential 21-day incubation, you can come into contact with a lot of people, and handshakes, kissing, cooking, making food, slaughtering other animals, drinking from the same well or same sources. It can all pass this transmission on.
All right. Well, I think we have another image here about showing the transmission of it. You get this PowerPoint extraordinaire going. So this is just kind of an infographic here explaining the outbreak. Of course, there where we talked about Guinea having the setup center with the WHO present. So, from my understanding, you get the first symptoms within day, 7 to 9. You got these headaches. That kind of resembles flu symptoms to me. I would feel like I'd have the flu.
Yep.
And then you go all exorcist on this thing, start vomiting everywhere.
Yeah, so what will happen is the virus will begin to attack the cells that line your gut's mucosal areas. So your gut will basically start breaking down and bleeding you'll hemorrhage into your intestines and stomach. That's why you get this vomiting and diarrhea of blood, which of course has a lot of virus, which of course can transmit the virus to other people.
What's up with this image? Why? What's going on right here?
It's the English.
So yeah,
transparent. Interesting.
Transparent.
Hey, so if you're to make a vaccine, remember that movie Outbreak? Did y'all watch that movie Outbreak?
yes, far from the truth,
But they took the monkey, and they made a vaccine out of it. Bada bing, bada boom, we're good.
It wouldn't have been a vaccine. It would have been a monoclonal antibody therapy. So they basically would have taken antibodies from a survivor. Like if you got Ebola, you survived, I would take your plasma, your blood, and screen it for antibodies to Ebola. I could then use those antibodies in myself as a potential prophylaxis. It wouldn't be a vaccine, but it would be a therapy for a couple of days. So that's kind of the concept that they did in Outbreak, although they were able to produce it in mass in like mere hours, which is impossible.
Keith Sutherland was in that movie. He's a good actor.
Sergio, I have a question.
Yes.
Are you Dustin Hoffman from Outbreak?
Absolutely not.
Are you Morgan Freeman? He sounds like Dustin Hoffman, but he looks like Morgan Freeman, if you know what I mean.
What?
Oh boy.
I have a question for Sergio. would basic hygiene, like boiling water, using alcohol rubs, whatnot, would that actually destroy the virus or not?
Yeah, actually, the virus is very labile to the environmental conditions, so it doesn't last very long on surfaces. And things like the sunlight, UV damage would destroy Ebola, and so would alcohol. It would degrade the particles really easily. So it's not a very hardy pathogen in the environment.
Wait. So if it's killed easily by UV, wouldn't essentially, like we were talking about gorillas, so gorillas get infected. What if it dies right there? Essentially, wouldn't the sun just kill it off right there?
If it was like right on the surface of the ground, yeah. But I mean, in a single droplet of blood, you're looking at enough particles to kill the world 7 times over. Something like 10 to the 7.
Oh man, viruses be crazy.
Yeah. It's astounding how many viruses are produced inside your human body.
All this is making me want to do is buy a hazmat suit.
As long as you practice good hygiene.
I just recently started flossing on a regular basis. I don't know if that's old age or I'm not sure.
It's probably good hygiene.
Hey, let me see what we got. We got another infographic here. Let me pull this puppy up on the PowerPoint.
Well, while he pulls that up, so we can say that one of the reasons why we haven't had more outbreaks is that the virus is that susceptible to environment then.
Yeah, it is. And we don't really know, to tell you the truth, why the virus doesn't have more outbreaks. Like, we don't know why these outbreaks happen. We know that, like, the hammerhead bat, it's called Hispignathus monsterosus, carries Ebola zaire. So you can find it in potentially caves, but we don't know why it crosses the species barrier over to gorillas and then humans. We don't know why that happens, why these outbreaks flare and then will die out.
Because it's picky and short-lived.
Potentially. I mean, that's one of the things that usually works against the virus, is that it burns so quickly and kills so fast that it limits its own spread. People die too quickly.
Much like man.
With this, would you, I guess, could you relate this virus to, you know what, I just lost my train of thought. Okay.
All right. Well, now that we are derailed on this train of thought, should we continue on to the next article?
Oh, I have this info. What is this? What do we got right here, bro? That's that picture of that lovely French woman right there.
French woman?
Where?
Up here. Like that.
Where?
That's her.
Oh. I believe that's the virus, my friend.
Man, I want spaghetti now. Okay.
I don't know what's up with Ghostbuster below the virus, though.
Well, what's he doing right there? Is he leaf blowing? Is he blowing the virus away?
He looks like he has a leaf blower, but I don't know why he would use a leaf blower in an Ebola outbreak.
So it is a leaf blower.
Potentially it's probably bleach or some type of disinfectant. It's like a spray gun. He's just spraying down other people. That's how you disinfect the outer surfaces of, like, us in suits and things like that. So.
Does he have any type of PPE over his eyes? I can't really tell.
Can't tell. He should, though, if he needs to cover.
I feel like he's just walking around with the cover over his eyes, not really knowing where he's going.
I think he's a pesticide worker. I'm not sure he's an Ebola outbreak worker, but
But if he's wearing that much gear, more than likely he has PPE over his eyes.
Why are we talking about the picture?
No, I prefer the idea that he's just a poor gardener that's walking into a really bad situation.
Diarrhea. All right.
He's just like, oh boy, what's wrong with this guy? And then, there's Ebola in the background laughing because they're going to get him.
Now, some other factors that play into the spread of this virus, the Ebola virus, would have to deal with, what is that, deforestation? I believe that came up.
yeah, that's potentially something.
Yeah, because you look at the amount of deforestation, the amount of mining, the amount of everything that's going on, and it just exacerbates the effects of Ebola because you don't have these sort of natural barriers, let's say, that would help to keep it in check, or at least keep it to animals, because, who cares about them, right? Ha ha ha. So, when you look at these things like this, you look at the situations that I guess in this case it'd be poor Africans are submitted to, that they are working in poor mining conditions, they're working in poor logging conditions, they're working in conflict zones, they're working in war zones. They just amplify the effect of Ebola, when if we didn't have these situations going on, certainly the spread would not necessarily be stopped, but certainly be mitigated to some degree.
Forest. Has there been any Ebola outbreaks outside of Africa?
Absolutely. Well, not necessarily outbreaks, but it's been transmitted to different places. The first, filovirus outbreak was actually in Germany. That's where the name Marburg virus comes from. It was from Marburg, Germany. And there have been cases in the United States, actually in Texas. There's been 2 in Texas, 1 in Colorado, or 1 in Virginia. So four different outbreaks in the United States.
Yeah, we do it bigger in Texas, baby. Woo!
Texas. That's what I love about Texas.
And then I think there was also in 1996 the Philippines and Russia. There was 1 case.
Yeah. There was a Reston virus, I think, was in the Philippines, and some pigs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they made a movie about this. It was called Outbreak. It was
Keith Sutherland.
I'm pretty sure it's not Keith.
No, it's Keith Sutherland. Yeah.
I thought it was Kevin Spacey.
It's Kevin Spacey, man.
Kevin Spacey is in that movie as well. Kevin Spacey, Keith Sutherland, Morgan Freeman, Dustin Hoffman.
Oh, you're right.
And there's that one chick.
Sutherland is not in Outbreak.
Who?
Keith Sutherland in Outbreak.
Yes, he plays the general.
Kiefer Sutherland plays the general, you ass.
Oh. Wait,
the guy
what was
who plays President Snow in...
Yeah, isn't that his... What was I saying?
No, the guy who's going to play Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid. Okay.
Yes.
Wait, I thought he died from an overdose.
No, Donald Sutherland.
Who's Donald Sutherland?
That's the guy we're talking about.
Nah, who's
It was Dustin Hoffman, Rene Russo, Morgan Freeman, Kevin Spacey,
dude.
Cuba Gooding Jr., Donald Sutherland, Patrick Dempsey.
Cuba's in that movie? Damn it.
Oh my god.
Radio.
Wow.
All right, I think we're going off topic here. Let's go back into the show.
Okay, so what do I got right here? We got an infographic showing how the infection has spread around Africa. This is in June of 2014. That's where my source is coming from. And then, of course, it lists out the confirmed cities. Now, right there where that little square, where did the infection start? Does anybody know?
Sierra Leone, I believe. No.
I thought it was Guinea.
Guinea, yeah, Guinea. Started in Guinea.
So
It started in Guinea and then it spread through to Sierra Leone and Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting because, here we're obviously seeing the highest infections and probable cases outside of Guinea.
Right. Which is it's very unlike Ebola to strike this area. Ebola is primarily around the lower center of Africa, so not on the Horn of Africa. It's right around the 0 degree, the equator. So this is I guess the 20th parallel. So 20 degrees higher than what its normal zone is. You wouldn't expect to see it.
Right, and so the first isolated cases come out of a jungle, and it's right next to an airport. From the airport, it looks like that's why we get these down here. What is this city down here at the bottom? Can't really read it on my monitor.
Monrovia?
Monrovia.
Okay,
Yeah, Monrovia in Liberia, that's the capital, I believe.
Well, because you skip parts, you know what I mean? For me, when you see an outbreak, it makes more sense in my head that it would spread out evenly. This just seems like it's kind of jumping out. It's still isolated to West.
No, not necessarily, because we don't know what's there between Monrovia and the next contaminated area whose name I cannot read. It could be people, it could be a whole lot of nothing. And if it's a whole lot of nothing, then that would explain that somebody transported the disease, in a sense, from the Monrovia area over into Sierra Leone or over into Guinea, and then it spread more connected in that manner, without any kind of, population density map or something overlaid on that. We can't necessarily say, why is it just jumping around like that?
Well, it was basically saying in my article that they weren't really controlled on the border. What does it say? On the border control? And
your article is Ebola outbreak in West Africa aided by ignorance and distrust.
Yep. That's the one. But it talked about it a little bit about the border control, and then also about the for commercial purposes, including personnel travel.
Well, what about the culture? Do you think it is causing this outbreak to become more severe?
About the government, that the people are superstitious about their own treatment and not trust the Western medicine.
Well, it's even more than that because you can also say that even though the government may make an effort to ban a given practice or a given ritual or what have you, people centuries of culture trumps whatever the government says, that's for sure, because culture is going to last, whereas the government may be gone by tomorrow. So, they're going to keep doing what they feel is a part of their heritage to do versus whatever the guy, with the business suit on says, or the guy with the, lab coat says.
That's
Unless
true.
he's got a gun. Unless he's got a gun, then,
Well,
Then I guess you put down that.
Go ahead.
Paul, go ahead.
But no,
We've been waiting to do that all day.
Let Paul talk.
no, yes, if for the Ebola virus needing to be contained, it needs concerted efforts and standardized practices. And you're right, unless something is more strongly enforced, then people can keep doing what they're doing, keep funerals. I believe in your article, Summer, it said they were dressing down the bodies before burying them, which spreads any blood or contaminants onto the persons and relatives, and that people who were infected try to make a run for it sometimes without telling anybody for fear of their families being shunned or even houses burnt down in villages.
Leprosy.
I hate to say it, but I'm going to kind of paraphrase here. But first, I want to ask: is there a term for preventative public health? If Sergio or Miguel, do you know, or Summer, do you know?
Preventative public health. No, I mean I think that's the term right there. Preventative public health.
Oh well, then to paraphrase Mao Zedong, preventative public health comes out of the barrel of a gun, because otherwise,
I think in this case, a barrel of a gun would actually help public health.
that's what I mean. I hate to be very cynical about the whole process, but just because somebody in power says, "Oh yeah, well we passed a law that says that doing this activity is prohibited," doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be prohibited. It's just the token effort that looks like, oh well, they're doing something, whereas people in practice, in reality, are going to keep doing what they're used to doing, even though it's detrimental to their health and contributes to the spread of the Ebola virus.
And also, it depends on what the practices are, because I think if you recall, for the parasite infection of hookworms in children and people in the United States, that was kind of curbed by Rockefeller when he provided money for shoes and other footwear, because otherwise hookworms are spread by walking through human feces and they're being uptaken through naked soles of feet. So that they were walking around barefoot because, yeah, that was traditional in that, but also because they didn't have shoes. But that's something that's a practice that could be prevented through materials. But yeah, with Ebola, that's a different kind of practice.
But I think
Agreed.
it comes more like with an education as well, because you can't just tell them to do this, and this. More like people have been doing this for centuries, and then all of a sudden you're telling them to do something different, and in their mind it doesn't make sense. So
Right, you're right.
someone has to go there do some
Education takes time.
Yeah.
And with the skeptical people that aren't really going to be, necessarily readily acceptable to education, you can't just go and say, well, we're going to sit here and teach you about some public health procedures, but it's going to take a little while. So, in the
Yeah,
meantime,
this
don't touch
is
each
coming
other.
from the country with vaccination, anti-vax problems.
Exactly. I mean, we have people who are vastly educated, but they do not believe in vaccines, that they cause more harm than help, that the thimerosal in the vaccines actually cause massive problems, when in reality they don't.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Jenny McCarthy was wrong? What? That can't be.
I think she backtracked now that she saw all those whooping coughs outbreaks that we were having.
Retract
Oh,
that
good.
statement, yo.
Good, that's good. At least people learn.
Yeah, you would think people learn. I don't think people learn.
She's just
I
covering
don't,
her
I
ass.
don't think people learn either, but I mean, any
I
change
don't know. I
is
still go back to the
helpful.
fact that, the reason that this outbreak is occurring, it's not profitable. I mean, we've had opportunities to obviously make a vaccine, and while, Sergio did state there are vaccines in the works, the fact that it happens rarely to remote parts of Africa, nobody really cares to make money off of it. I mean, primarily because of that, and so we don't have a vaccine for it.
Well, another question is how often does this virus? I mean, we see that we have so many strains of this virus. I mean, how often do the strains change? Because look at us, we have to every year we come up with a new flu vaccine because this new variation's coming out or a new mutation, and if it's the same thing with the Ebola virus or its derivatives, it's going to be almost impossible to keep up with it.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. Sergio, have you seen that this has actually changed? Because we call it the flu vaccine, but there's H1N1, and it starts changing up.
Well, the virus itself to me is obviously changing. In the lab, I can tell you that there's about 30%. Let me see if I can find the exact figure. I think it's 30 to 40% difference in like the nucleic acid and the actual sequences that can be between the two species, Marburg and Ebola. So like they cause the same disease, but they can be vastly different in terms of what they're made up of, which is why you see these differences in mortality. Why is this strain 60% case fatality, where the original strain of Zaire was 90%? What's the difference? And I can bet you it's probably like 1 or 2 amino acids. It's something very, very small that leads to very, very big changes. That's the really cool part about
The
viruses.
power of mutation, folks.
The power of mutation. All right, guys. So, any last comments before we get into our lightning round? I'm gonna throw them in there.
What's the lightning round?
You don't remember what the lightning round is, Sergio? Really? We've already done this, 3 times now?
No, we're good, guys. Nothing more about Ebola virus. Ebola virus sounds scary.
It is very scary.
It's scary.
I mean, well, not specifically about the Ebola virus, but I remember reading recently about how the CDC had some game developers come down to speak with them, specifically ones who made the game Plague Incorporated, because they had such very well detailed, well, not very well detailed, but nuanced infection not diagrams, but infection models, and that the CDC itself was interested in. The game itself is, but it provides some interesting items to let you see, hey, how fast viruses can mutate or different pathogens, and just in case anyone wants to give it a try, let's try to understand a little bit more, just glean a little bit of information.
Huh.
Hey, man, that sounds like sounds analogous to agent-based computational economics, which is basically, can we sit there and program how things are going to function based on standard economic models or otherwise? And, you can certainly use plenty of video games to do that kind of thing. What comes to mind, like, I don't know, really boring games like Europa Universalis or Hearts of Iron or whatever.
Are you kidding me? Those are great.
There you go. I proved my point.
Oh, we got indie games versus AAA. Anyways, let's see what we got here.
Anyway, before we go nerd out on this.
The movie Contagion and outbreak like that. Do you think that helps people understand the spread of viruses such as Ebola?
I think Outbreak's a little far-fetched, but I think Contagion did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
We're quite fortunate in that Ebola is not a respiratory pathogen like what we saw in Contagion, but there are respiratory pathogens that are just as deadly. So it's a real-world thing.
And Sergio is Lawrence Fishburne from that movie. So.
He looks like Jude Law, but he sounds like Lawrence Fishburne. All right, so now we go over to our lightning round. Who's ready for that, huh? Yeah. Where's some cheers? Where's my cheers? There we go. Who's on the soundboard? Am I right?
You are.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you are.
Check that out. Boom. PowerPoint. Brought to you by the lightning round.
Sweet.
Can I get something here? Can we get what do we got? Yeah, we're just gonna keep using this one. Lightning round. Hey, I'm gonna have to get you off the soundboard. Okay, here we go. What do you call a group of ferrets? No Googling, guys. Come on. I hear Google. What are you doing? I hear you.
I seem to remember the group of ferrets is like a business meeting.
Boom. There it is. Business. Do blind people see blackness or nothing?
Blackness.
I don't honestly know the answer. I think it's nothing because I can't really decipher.
Is it nothing? They don't even know what blackness is. Blackness is a conceptual term.
Black is just black. The color black.
Yeah, black is black, right? For those who can see what black is.
Black on black on black. I am not doing these sound effects, by the way. Lightning round. Okay, true or false? The woolly mammoth was around when the pyramids were being built. True or false?
False?
I'd say true.
I think he'd be a little too warm.
This statement's actually true.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Woolly mammoth existing.
Remember, the pyramids are farther away. Pyramids of Cleopatra are farther away than Cleopatra and us walking on the moon.
Oh, back when the aliens came and helped build the pyramids, right?
Absolutely,
Aliens.
but that was in South America.
Talking about Mass Effect?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Sergio played Mass Effect. I remember him telling about the scene with the girl alien.
Hey guys, did you play Mass Effect when you met the girl alien and then stuff happened?
Hey, all right. How many mosquitoes, if each is sucking at once, would it take to completely drain the average human of blood?
How many mosquitoes each sucking at once?
Can we at least have some choices? Because that's
Like
pretty
10
open-ended.
Okay. Well, do you think it's around 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000,
What
or
are
a
they
million?
using the measurement?
10,000.
Mosquitoes.
I'm going to say 10 million.
$1.
I'd say about 10,000.
And you know, from what we learned last week, it's female mosquitoes because the male mosquitoes don't bite you.
Right.
And only some
Actually,
certain
no.
types.
Yeah, so it's around 1,200,000 guys. So
Wow.
Wow.
Nice.
yeah, so if you had all that, it would completely drain you.
So they can take about 1/10 of a milliliter.
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. All right, here we go. Can humans eat the liver of a polar bear?
It's probably too fatty.
No,
Yeah.
but I'm
Answer
willing to try.
I'd say yes.
answer is
I'm
no.
pretty sure we have that stock show
I
at
want
one
to try
time.
it.
Too much vitamin A.
Really?
Yeah.
Where'd you get? Where did they get
You can't tell me what to do. You're not my mom. I'll eat the liver of any polar bear.
Okay, well, you know what?
Yeah, let's kill them all, right?
Polar bears.
I'm not advocating that.
Anyone eat?
And
Well,
we don't
Sergio
know
is
what she... Okay, next, last one. Here we go, guys. What is the resting temperature of human testicles?
Sergio, do you know this?
Probably like 28 degrees
Celsius?
Fahrenheit? Or Celsius.
Celsius.
I'd say 96 degrees
Just a
Fahrenheit.
teaser for next week.
It's between 94 and 96 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, I was on the high range.
And so that's, you know, when it's 94 to 96 degrees outside, you could actually say it's hot as balls.
You were waiting for that. You were waiting for that.
I was trying, you know. I do what I do. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Any last minute comments? Anybody want to get anything else in?
Ebola is bad. The movie Contagion is good. That is
Well,
awful.
Sergio, how about some helpful hygiene tips on how just to avoid most types of infection?
Wash your hands and floss your teeth.
More the first one than the other, though.
Right.
Frickin' black soap. Do you think it's a good soap? to run on an old joke from previous episodes.
And that is our episode.
Where did you get that sound effect?
Go ahead and sign us out, Randall.
All right, everybody. That's our third episode of Beta Sheep. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. I hope you enjoyed these sound effects as much as we do. And we'll see you next time in 1 week. Thanks,
Go ahead.
everybody. Have a good one.
All right, everyone. Later.
Bye.